trash of the Philippines, where we will expose
It's back! It's back!
from all over the globe who come to the
They got
Philippines
taken down, but they're back.
exploitation of
Subscribe.
We call them the expat trash.
I saw 19 subscribers. I'm number 20, I think.
They are depraved narcissists.
Subscribe. Let the good people win. Truth, justice, and the American way.
We will
They're not doing anything
We
wrong.
will expose them. Their content is
Fantastic. Glad to
Since
see it.
YouTube is not doing anything to moderate them.
Call me a super
we can
fan.
write to them on
I like to see the good guys win.
the fight by liking,
Subscribe to Expat Trash of the Philippines new channel.
Stay vigilant. The trash of the
And
Philippines.
don't forget to subscribe
Where
to
we will
my
It's
expose
back. It's back.
all over the globe who come to the
They got taken down, but they're back.
exploitation of
Subscribe.
We call them the expat trash.
I saw 19 subscribers. I'm number 20, I think.
They are depraved narcissists.
Subscribe. Let the good people win. Truth, justice, and the American way.
Well, yeah.
Food and grocery expenses in
Anyway, guys,
the Philippines can also add up quickly.
let the good people win, is what that gentleman said. He's making reference to Expat Trash Philippines, of course. That the channel has reemerged. It will continue their journey to expose those that really need to be exposed. Anyway, it's a stormy morning here on the islands. It's cloudy, blustery, on and off rain showers. Kind of a very dark but nicely cool day. Kind of what I like, actually. I don't like it too hot. So the beat goes on. Now, under these situations where a lot of people don't want to be the topic matter, they don't want to be part of an expose with any other channels, such as the Expat Trash Philippines, otherwise known as ETP. So we did a little show where we were talking about them and why they were doing this. As I said, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be a troll that I know. It could be even Andy Omar. It could be anybody, okay? But getting to the point is when you do an expose on somebody and it happens to be true, then I don't see them doing anything wrong. Well, the person that they're doing the expose about might find it. But, I mean, I may wind up on there myself. Okay, not that I'm doing anything wrong, but it has to be substantiated. Now, a lot of the information that EPT has put out has been substantiated. That's the difference. Okay, now you got that straightened out. Okay. Anyway, we're amongst it'll be official on September 1st. It's going to be the Christmas holiday season. People never get that concept. The things begin early in the Philippines because, a lot of stuff has to be imported. They don't want to wait till the month of December to start, their retail business selling Christmas items. They want to sell it as early as possible because orders take a long time to come in. So they got to order this stuff early. And they figure, well, and they're good business people here. Let's, celebrate Christmas now, early. Let's make more money because let's order big, sell big, not wait to the last moment because we may not be able to get our supplies in time. And that's just a good business practice. That's why you see, that's in part why you see the almost officially unofficial, whatever, that September 1st starts the season out here. And for those that just came to the Philippines and you were here in September, October, whatever, you say, what the hell is this? It's not even Halloween yet. It's not even Thanksgiving yet. And they're celebrating Christmas now in the malls and everywhere. I always found that mind-boggling myself. They're getting a jump start on the holidays to make some money. And that's what it's all about. Money, 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 money. Money rules. And we also know how long it takes to import things, to get things into this country. We know how long it takes to get anything done in this country, nevertheless order something, import something. So businesses have to practice that. They have to order their material ahead of time on there. Okay, let's just do a little testing here to see how many people are on at this time. It's 20 to 10. I'm trying to establish a better time to actually do shows on here, maybe stick to that instead of my very early morning shows, which ironic, I know it amazes me that there's a lot of people that are available at that time. Trying to set the perfect time on here I can't seem to do that, If there was a lot of people on, I'd have a whole lot more than 4 viewers in the 5 minutes that I've been on here. But Right now, we've got 4 viewers and 1 thumbs up. I guess it is what it is on here. We have pretty much decided where our next real trip will be, and I'm not going to discuss where it is. Just we've been going back and forth. We want to take a trip somewhere to see more of the Philippines, and we've really been struggling over where, and then the reason why. Okay, so we're going to be still thinking about it. I mean, we have a place in mind, but it's, you know, it's not locked. It's not locked and loaded. You know, there's a couple of other options. But I've seen some things on TV on the Philippines that were amazing. But unfortunately, some of the places I'd like to go to, I don't think I'm in shape enough to go there, do any climbing, going up mountainsides, things like that. That would be ideal for me. I like that kind of stuff. You know, I know a lot of tourist type people. They love the tourist thing. They want to be around a whole lot of people, doing all the touristy things. I like the off roads. I like a different path than a given path. You know, that's the kind of stuff I like adventure. But the problem is, I'm not the younger man I used to be. So Tom Kinsey's back. How about an update on? There's nothing to update. I've talked about it before. You ain't been listening to my show. There's nothing more to talk about. Everything's going the way it should go, and it will go. And you know, status quo is not changed at all. You could pretty much figure he'll be in jail still for Christmas. I can pretty much say that, yeah. I'm here in the dungeon, Frank. Peace and love. That's what I want. Peace and love. Peace and love. If we could only achieve that on social media, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Everybody loving each other, respecting each other, you know, minding their own business, sticking to their own. Somehow I just don't think that's going to happen, and not in my mind. I really don't see that happening at all. Yeah, I don't mind doing an extra video because it's just a very dingy day today here. It's a bit blustery at times, occasional rainfall, very dark skies. It's cooler, yeah, kind of nice. I like it. But I like it like this. Period. To be honest with you, I mean, don't forget I lived in Washington State, the general Seattle area, for about a quarter of a century. That's how long. And I was used to having a lot of days that were just, you know, very gray. And everybody who lived there, they got used to it. But you know what? It was kind of funny because people looked forward to having sunny days. Everybody be out. Grandparents with the grandchildren in the parks, everybody be out. A lot of activity when the sun came out in Seattle. But it was good for them for only a certain period of time. It's kind of like, you know, Seattle is kind of like Alaska. Alaska sort of kind of has, well, more cold than Alaska, but similar weather because it's generally, I would say most of the time, it's gray and grim. Gray and grim. And people get used to that. So I could speak, well, I've worked in Alaska, but I've lived in Seattle. And I know from all the years I lived there that even with me, that gray skies was like a protective veil. I can't explain that psychologically, but it was to a lot of people. And when the sun came out, if it was prolonged, you know, summertime, there would be many days that you'd have some warm, sunny, sometimes very hot weather. And some people just couldn't take that. They actually had the opposite. They would get depressed, which is the opposite normally, with all that sunlight. And they felt better when you have a showery or at least a cloudy day. I noticed because I've lived there, okay? And some people would get depressed with that weather. They need those, you know, those light boxes or maybe LED lights or something. They put it next to their bed. It would kind of emulate, you know, real sunlight because you go through this, they call it SADD, sounds like sad. What is it? Sudden affective something disorder, where you're not getting enough sunlight and you need to energize yourself, you need to, even if it's artificial sunlight. They used to sell these, I never bought one, I always intended to, but you put it near your bed so when you wake up, you got this special kind of lighting. It gets you going for the day when you have to work. You're amazed what people do. But yeah, Seattle was like that. It was more gray than it was anything else. And people would get, believe it or not, depressed when it was, they'd get energized when the sun came out, but Then it soon turned to depression. And believe it or not, I believe Washington State, of all places, probably had on the top scale of places that were selling sunglasses. Because people's eyes, like mine, get sensitive too. I wear glasses a lot, sunglasses. Get sensitive to bright light because you've been exposed for 25, 26 years to predominantly cloudy skies. So when it gets really bright, it's like, whoa, what the hell? It's too bright out here. But I've been through that. I grew up in a temperate climate, though, of course, on the East Coast of over New York. I looked forward to having the four seasons, to be honest with you. God, really. Winter, spring, summer, fall. I love the fall. On the East Coast, you love the fall because you had this nice brisk weather coming in. You didn't have to wear a sweater, sweatshirt. Oh, it just felt so good. And the leaves were turning colors. You had the elm, the oak trees, different varieties of trees, chestnut. There's all kinds of trees that turn colors during the fall. There's like a wonderland of color. Now you go further up the coast into New England area, Rhode Island, and so forth. Beautiful. If you've ever had the chance to see what it's like in New England, which is, the coastline going from New York upwards. It's beautiful. It's so picturesque, especially all these colors and trees around a flowing river or mountains. Beautiful. It doesn't last very long, but beautiful orange and burnt orange and red and yellow, just really beautiful colors. Different hues. Quite nice. If you ever got to experience that, you never forget it. Then there was that smell in the fall. People burning leaves, very country feeling, that smell like somebody, countryside's got their fireplace on. There's always a smell. You go up in the mountains, people have fireplaces. They're burning logs and whatnot, and to keep cool, to keep warm, actually. And it kind of goes around the whole ambiance of living in a cooler climate during a seasonal thing, like fall, autumn. I've always loved the experience of that. That's why I used to look forward to the fall, even in Seattle. You knew fall was in the air. You felt it. You got up in the morning, you felt that little chill. A lot of people would use fireplaces. You'd smell the fireplaces going. Of course, it's a pollutant, but still, people were burning leaves to get rid of them. But it all added to this whole ambiance of the season. Now, I'm sure if you've ever experienced that, you could understand what I'm talking about. Good times, good times. We always say, yeah, the old days were good days. The olden days. Life was more simple. Maybe during that time you didn't think life was simple, but maybe it was simpler than your life right now. That's the comparison. It always seems good old days, you say, when things were great. You met old Molly, your girlfriend, what turned out to be your wife. You have memories, music, to romantic moments, to vacations you took. Memories in the corner of my mind. Yeah, memories, my friends, memories. That's something that people can't take away from you, can't take away from me. They can try to take away your dignity and pride. They can't take your memories away. It's one thing that they cannot touch. It's under lock and key. Can't touch that. Can't touch this. We all have memories, good and bad, but we try to emphasize the positive memories so we could go on in life and be as normal as you possibly can, except being destroyed by an old memory or terrible incident that might have happened in your life, your family's life. We want to move beyond that because you see, they may be gone, but you're still here, which means you have to go on with the rest of your life. Oh, am I getting philosophical again? Is that chasing people away? I don't know. It's just the way it is. I do the shows the way I want to do it. Say what I need to say on my show. You could always make suggestions. I could say, yeah, or maybe not, but I like to run the show the way I like to run it. Maybe I like reconnoitering with some things in the past. I think we all do at some point or another. Ever sit there and look at your album photos from way back? See, that was me? God, I can't believe that was me. Girlfriend you were with, or family member. I think everybody does that every now and again. I think everybody does do that. People that you've lost that were very close to you. Remember, unless nobody recounts or remembers you in a good way. It just has any thoughts about you long after you're gone. You're never dead as long as somebody thinks about you, right? There we go, Jiffy Geechee. Memories in the corner of my mind, Barbara Streisand. How I can relate things to music, and I think we all do that. Special moments in our life, you know. I still recall people I was with, the time when certain songs come on. It always reminds me, takes me back in that time machine. If you could do that, I don't know. Ask yourself, what would you change in your life? Maybe you say, I'll never go on YouTube. That'd probably be the best thing you could ever do. That would be one thing you could change. Or whoever you married, you know, if you could change that, because that turned out to be a disaster. Yeah, that's one thing to think about. Or maybe your investments or something weren't very good. Maybe you could do something to change that around. What would you do? Something you could post or something you could just, ask yourself. If you could change things up in your life, what would you do? Yeah. How could it make your life better now? Learning from your past mistakes. Something to think about. Jiffy Geechee says, if you're content with your life now, change nothing. Any change could make things worse. Well, sudden changes can do damage to you. You don't want to do anything too drastically different. I think if you're settled in, you're at an older age. I had a great compliment this morning. We were talking about different things at the breakfast table. And her daughter, an accountant, she's 28. And she brought her friend who's around that age too. And she's also an accountant. And we were talking about age. We were talking about different things. She asked me, well, how old are you? I said, well, I don't know. How old do I look? I don't know, somewhere in your 50s? I said, that sounds good. I said, no, I'm actually 69 years old. She said, yeah, you look pretty good for 69. And that was a compliment. And what I can attest for that, I don't know, maybe my supplementation, I don't really know. But it's nice to still hear that from you. I've talked to people on ferries. No matter where I was, don't mean just a ferry. Then they wind up getting, they always get curious, well, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? I'll tell them my age, and that's all I've ever gotten from people. No, I would have figured out that you were like this age or that age, but it never was anything near what my real age was. So I'm doing something right. I don't know for sure, but I'm obviously doing something right. So I'll continue doing whatever the hell it is that I'm doing. Make me look about 10. Blastoplasty is where you get rid of that sagging lipids under your eyes, which we know as baggy eyes. That's about 60 plus thousand per eye pesos. That's not a lot of money, not really. But the problem with that, or it makes you look older. I can guarantee you, if I had that, I guess it's called blastoplasty, I would look at least 10 years younger than I look now. I know because with my fingers, I've stretched my skin under my eyes. I looked more Asian than anything when I did that, just to see what I'd look without the excess baggage, the old bag, the old hag. Pretty good. But I'm not sure if I could see paying for something that it's not going to be that lasting, maybe a few years or something. I don't know. If it lasted 10 years or more, that'd be consideration, because I don't even know if I have 10 years. I mean, nobody knows how long they got. It's not a bad idea, though. Then what would they have to complain about my looks? Actually, when I sold the house, I was actually thinking, it was just an oversight. I was actually thinking of getting that done. Even looked into it. Yeah, your eyes will be black and blue for several weeks, but you just wear sunglasses. They do a little stitching, a little cutting, whatever they do. And it looks good if they know what they're doing. Unless they make me look Asian or something. They make a mistake and they cut here and snip there and tighten it there. I could look Asian. Well, which would work out pretty good living out here. I'd fit right in. An Asian with blue eyes, that's something you don't see. Eyes. It's the Spanish people themselves. They had blonde hair also. Not all of them, but they had blonde hair. Right? Typical if you ever went to Spain, which I never did, but I know there's a fact. I've seen pictures, I read. A lot of them have blonde hair, blue eyes, light skin, and they're Spanish. You say, wait a minute, how could that be? Are they mixed with something? No, they're not. See, Spanish people tend to be, they see themselves as the elite compared to, like, if you're Mexican, Puerto Rican, whatever you might be. they kind of consider themselves the higher class of the Hispanic populations. Yeah, northern Spain. Nothing wrong with looking Asian in the Philippines. Obviously not. It's just the Philippines. They are considered to be Asian. Some people even say we're not Asian out here. We're Pacific Islanders. I don't know where that came in. No, they're not Pacific Islanders out here. Even Hawaii, well, they say we're Pacific Islanders. Well, in Hawaii, the native Hawaiians that we know as Hawaiians, they weren't really the first settlers to come there. The Polynesians came over from other islands. They were the first people to really occupy the islands. And what we know as Hawaiians, claiming that that's their land, and you know, they even thought the Menehune, these little midget species of Hawaiians, occupied the islands of Menehunens. They were little warlike guys, but they were really small guys. They were the early warriors that were in Hawaii that might even still be in Hawaii, hiding in the bushes somewhere. Hiding in the bushes. I don't know. Jeffy Griechi says, same with the Greeks and Italians. You'll see blue-eyed blondes. Well, in my case, I don't know the exact history. I could trace some of it back to, on my father's side, to Milan and some other areas in the mountains, northern, and it's closer to the borders of places like Austria, Switzerland, and Germany. That's where it gets derived from with the Italians. It's the geographical area that your ancestors came from. So in my case, I don't know exact, unfortunately, but it could be Austria, Germany, Switzerland, and countries of that nature. Quite possibly. And maybe I should start speaking with a German accent, huh? But that's where it came in. Now, if you're Sicilian, you're black. That means that who was just saying recently that I'm Sicilian? I just heard it the other day. Fazio. He's got a Sicilian background, so he's a brother. He's got the brother blood in him. But I don't hear him singing any rap songs and having an affinity for watermelon. I don't know. Ooh, that was a racist statement, Frank. Shame on you. Hey, it's how society sees things. I'm just a messenger. But that means that Fazio would be genetically African American. Well, maybe I think he should grow a fro, man. I think he'd look awfully good with a fro. He'd look like one of them Cupid dolls, Remember when his Cupid dolls came out? They were troll dolls. He had that wild hair on it. And he'd look good with something like that. Oh, in Malta, yeah. I got it written down here. Let me see. You know where my black address book is? Because that's where I wrote some information in there in the back. The black book, yeah. We'll see if we can find that. Because I did write some information down on that. And this is from talking to my uncle, who is still alive, mind you. He's 98 years old today. He's 99 years old. And I got a little bit something written down, and I had to kind of, drain his brain a little bit to get this information out, because just for my knowledge, isn't it racist for Fazio to paint everything yellow? Cultural appropriation? It could very well be, man. Oh, here it is. Let me see what I wrote in the back of this book here. Okay. They were called High Italians, were ancestors. Okay, what do I have here? Okay, family history of this. My grandfather on my father's side. Okay, he was born in 1881 in a place called Borbamo, Italy. That's Berbamo. He was born in 1881 and he died in 1975. Okay, now my father's dad, which is my grandfather. My grandfather was Antonio Battaglia. His wife, which is my grandmother. They were born. Let me see. I think he was born in Sorenza, Cerenza, Italy, around 1878, and he died in 1975. You can see the longevity in this family. Yeah. Now, as far as my mom's side, I'll just give you any idea. I know it was north of Milan on my father's side. There was, they used to call them, and I don't know where they got the expression, that they're high Italians. I don't mean that they're high on dope. I mean, they were called high Italians. Palaboya, why are no Hawaiians claiming Pele, god of fire, wind, was not responsible for Maui's fires if they still believe in Hawaiian gods? Well, if it's something that works for them, they'll do something. If it works against them, they'll say opposite. Why don't they just say, hey, Madame Pele caused this fire, and go with it and say, we honor what Madame Pele did. Now, let's see. On my mother's side, let me see. My grandmother, maiden name was Legere. The marriage name, okay, got the marriage name. She was married to a guy named Alfred Arciola. That was my grandfather, my mother's side. And let's see. Okay, so my grandmother was born in 1911 in the Bronx. She died in 1992 at the age of 80. Her husband, which is my grandfather, which I never got to know, Alfred Arciola, was born July 19th, 1909 in the Bronx. But he died early at the age of 1946 of age 37. I'm not sure what was wrong. Now, my grandmother, her father was, name was Pasquale. Okay, so let's see, my grandmother, her father, he was born in 1888 in San Marco in Lamis, Lamis, which is Foggia, Foggia, Puglia, Puglia. No idea. He died in 1960. He was known as Patsy. His name was Patsy. So I do have a little bit of history here, not exact. So you could pretty much say my dad's side, somehow the Cerenza, Cerenza, Italy, was one place. Although he's worked in Africa, he's worked in places, those days, gold mines in Africa. He actually did work where my father's father, my grandfather, laid the tile down for train stations. They did all kind of masonry work. So, okay, back to my father. So it's, okay, see, his wife, grandmother was 97. Was she born in a center or was he born in a center? Sure. In 1978. My dad was born in. Okay, so I don't know. I think it was my grandfather that was born in Cerenza, Italy. So if you look it up on a map, you can see where that is in Italy. Cerenza. Let me punch this in just for the hell of it. I mean, having fun here. Cerenza, Italy. Cerenza. Excuse me. Cerenza, Italy. Why is it coming out as Florence? Wait a minute. I think the wording was different. It was probably Firenze, Firenz, not Cerenza. That's what the confusion is. Somebody asked the question, is Florence, Italy called Firenze? Florence, Italian for Firenze, whatever. Latin, Florentia, city capital of Firenze. Province, that's the province. And Tuscany, so it's in the, Toscana, Tuscany regions. Central Italy. What is Firenze, Italy known for? Birthplace of the Renaissance, with its stunning architecture, world-renowned art museums, rich history, and iconic cultural landmarks. Well, let me see. The distance from Florence to Milan is 190 miles. Okay, so I can see where Milan was very close by, and close meaning 190 miles. But that's close enough. But yeah, I think there was a. Okay, what is Firenze? What does that mean in Italy? Florence. Firenze means Florence. So basically, Florence, Italy is where my grandfather was born. That's from what I could put it in here. Is Florence in Rome or Italy? Rome and Florence are among the most popular cities in Italy. Okay. What's the nickname for Firenze? The City of Lilies. Florence. Okay, pretty much it's Florence, Italy. And I think that's where my grandfather came from. Florence, Italy. Okay, interesting to find that out. Just kind of redoing this here. Assarenza. No, wait a minute. It originally looked like Assarenza. We'll do it again. want to be sure. A-C, okay. E-R, A-C, that would be A-C-E-R. A-C-E-R-E-N-Z-A. Assarenza. Okay. It's a town. It is a town. Oh, there's a picture too. It's a town in Italy. It's known as a town and commune in the province of Battaglia in the southern Italian region of Basilicate. It's a member of the Borgi Puberti, the Italia Association. Hey, well, I don't, I'm hearing something about the mountains up region. I don't know why. And my light skin and blue eyes had to come from somewhere, from either Austria, Switzerland, or Germany, to have the traits that I have. The recessive factor with the blue eyes. Very interesting, though. I have to look at more pictures on this thing. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to try to look up a little bit of your history. I never really concentrated. I should have done a lot more research. But it sure would be nice to visit Italy. And that's the thing I've never done. Since my ancestors come from there, Yeah, I'd like to do that. Where do I go for that? Where do I go for that? Supposedly these days they're able to tell you all kinds of shit. What you have in your blood. I might be a brother, man. For all I know, I might be a brother. If you're a Sicilian, you're a bro. There's no question about that. You see, Sicilians don't want to call themselves. You want to know what the fire between this is? Sicilians don't want to be called Italians. They'll say, we're not Italians, we're Sicilian. Although they are Italian. Sicily is part of it. But they want to disconnect themselves from anybody saying that they are Italiano. I'm not sure why, but you'll hear them say that. No, we're Sicilians. You're still Italian. Everybody wants, I don't know, kind of upgrade their position in life, and they think that being a Sicilian is maybe more higher class than being called an Italian. Let's see. Are Sicilians Italian? Okay. Is Sicilian considered Italian? While Sicily is technically a part of Italy, there are some pretty big differences between the two. For one, Sicily is its own autonomous region with its own unique culture and history. And of course, the food is different too. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. What nationality are Sicilians? That's a question. The Sicilians, or Sicilian people, are a Romance-speaking, honey, I love you, are a Romance-speaking ethnic group who are indigenous to the island of Sicily, the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea, as well as the largest, maybe a lot of you didn't know that, and most populous of the autonomous region of Italy. So what they really want is like what the Hawaiians want. They want this autonomy. They want to be recognized as Sicilians and not Italians. Pretty obviously. They're still Italians. They're still in Italy. As far as I'm concerned, they're still Italian. But are they genetically different from Italians? Do they have a different DNA than Italians from other regions? If so, why? No, they don't have. The only region of Italy with a specific genetic profile, albeit still within the European framework, is Sardinia. A little bit different for Sardinia, okay? And what are the closest genetics to Italians? Southern Italians are the closest to modern Greeks, while the Northern Italians are closest to the Spaniards and South French. I always thought I was Northern Italian, but are Sicilians descendants of Arabs? No, Sicilians, like the majority of Europeans, originated from the Middle East farmers about 8,000 years ago, before Arabs existed. The Moors did conquer Sicily, so Sicilians likely carry a small amount of Berber Arab DNA from recent times. What does being Sicilian mean? Belonging or relating to Sicily or to people of the culture. Where are Italians descended from? Italians, like most Europeans, largely descend from three distinct lineages. There's the Mesolithic hunter and gatherers, descended from populations associated with the Paleolithic Epigraphitinian culture, Neolithic early European farmers who migrated from Antarctica during the Neolithic Revolution. It should be evolution, really. The revolution, 9,000 years ago. Wow. Learn just from my show here, at least for me anyway. I don't like Sicilian pizza, by the way. They don't like to hear that, but I don't. Now, what happened is, why in America you got so many? Between 1880 and 1924, more than that's where my grandfather came in. More than 4 million Italians immigrated to the United States. Half of them between 1900 and 1910 alone. The majority fleeing grinding rural property in southern Italy and Sicily. Today, Americans of Italian ancestry are the nation's fifth largest ethnic group. Wow. Now, what is the association here with African Americans? No, wait, are Italians considered Latino? Latino does not include speakers of Romance languages from Europe, such as Italian and Spanish. And some people have tenuously argued that it excludes Spanish workers from the Caribbean. Who were the first Italians? Celts, the colonists. Okay. Why are some Italians dark? Here we go. That's why over the centuries, the genomic background of the Italians has become very variated. For example, a person from the south of Italy generally has darker skin than someone from the north because of the higher percentage of melanin in their skin. It seems that Italian history influenced the country in many ways. Now here's what I want to look up there. Are Sicilians African Americans? Okay. Are Italian descendants of Africans? Stated that an analysis of ancestral information markers as carried out in a present study indicated that Italy shows a very minor sub-Saharan African component that is, however, slightly higher than non-Mediterranean Europe. Discussing African DNA is a study of states, and these indicate that as significant. Let's see. What African tribe took over Sicily? Referred to either as the Moors in Liberia or the Saracens in South Italy and in Sicily. They arrived in Europe dates of 711 AD and rapidly subduing most of the Iberia and Sicily in 831 AD. Amongst European kingdoms, their presence was seen as constant danger, and only by the 15th century was the Iberian reconquest completed. Okay, did Africans settle in it? Okay, the Romans conquered Sicily eventually. Then later became a second wave of African invaders. What happened? By this time, they were Muslim and they spoke Arabic, and the Europeans called them Moors. This is a vague term which applies to the various races of northern Africa, including of some sub-Saharan Africans as well. What DNA do they have? Well, Sicilians have ancient and medieval Greek genetic paternal legacy is estimated about 35% in Sicily, and by the Arab Berber between 0 and 7.5%. That's kind of interesting, actually, because a lot of people say the Sicilians are basically part African American, and there's probably some truth to that. There was some intermixing that went on. Yeah, okay, there we go. Well, that's kind of interesting just to go through this, even just for some research on my own, kind of rehashing some stuff here that I haven't looked up for a while. Now, I don't know. I know that my Uncle Tony, who's still alive at 98, said that, I don't know, I was up in the mountains, it was outside of Milan. Maybe they call them the high Italians, they call them for some reason. And that terminology could have several different meanings. High meaning high class, or high coming from the mountains. I think he meant high Italians, I don't know, coming from the mountains. I never really had a real explanation from that, to tell you the truth. Really, never really did. But it's nice to know this. It's nice to know this. To know a little bit about family history. Damn, my grandfather was born in 1909, Bronx, New York. Died in, very strange, 37, man. I asked my aunt about this because I never met my grandfather on my mother's side. She said something down below. I don't know if he had prostate cancer, colon cancer, testicular cancer. There's a lot of different things. Urinary tract, bladder cancer. I really don't know. I really wish I would know. It would be good to know, but I'll never know that information, not at this point. But remember the other towns. I didn't look them up either. My grandmother was, okay, that's on my mother's side. Remember, comes from a whole different place than what my father did. Pasquale, born in San Marco, All right, one last thing. I'm going to look up San Marco and I'll get off this. San Marco, Italy, location. San Marco. San Marco. Okay, you're talking about the Venice area. San Marco was basically Venice. So, let's see here. Grandmother was Antoinette. Was Yuri? Father was Pasquale. Okay. He was born in San Marco, in Lamas. Okay, hold on. This is crazy. San Marco, Lamas. Jesus Christ, you get into this shit, man. There's also a San Marcos in California, too. Okay, let's fix this up a little bit. One more moment, guys. Grandmother's name was here. Father Pasquale, born San Marcos, Lamas. Foggia, Puglia. Okay, Foggia, Puglia. I've been the province. Here we go. Okay, Foggia is a city and former commune in Apulia, in southern Italy. Capital of the province of Foggia, 2000. Let's see, what region of Italy? It's the southeastern Italy, the center of Puglia. Tell me a lot. Is Foggia north or south Italy? Southern Italy. So I guess they're coming from southern Italy, a lot of them. But one place that they were was just outside of Milan by 190 miles. Wow. Okay, well, enough of that. It's really interesting. I mean, tell me where we can get those DNA things going. That would be kind of interesting to know. I don't know if it matters at this point, really. I don't know if it really does or not. Yeah, I did grow up in New York. I did. Till I was about 28. Yeah, born and raised in New York. Born and raised. Wow, the bottom of this computer gets really hot. I wonder if it's internal fan or something works in there. I think I got to keep this elevated off a flat surface, something that you could breathe a little bit better. I'm thinking on here. I guess it is good to go into your ancestry a little bit. I'd like to look up him if there was any records of him. Of my grandfather when he came into New York. That's interesting. DNA places. Google Ancestry or Heritage or 22andMe. What? They had a big one, I think. They send you a saliva sample kit. So you're saying that DNA, you go to Google Ancestry is what you're saying, or Heritage. It's hard to send anything from the Philippines, man, okay? It took it a year before they get it or get it back and stuff like that. There's got to be somebody that does it in this country, DNA. You would think so, or certainly hope so. They have the capability of doing that. Should have done that while they're still in America. Because I'm curious. I mean, sometimes you like to know who you are and why you have certain traits or features that you do. Was it very kind of indigenous to the area where the relatives came from? Interesting. There must be in Phil's. I'll check. I don't know. I'm doubting it. You would think so. Lots of labs, but I just don't know if they do genetics, family tree type stuff, I don't know. Let me know if you find out. Where is everybody today? It's holidays. Everybody doing something? It's 10:30 in the morning here. We don't have many viewers on here. Maybe because I've been just shooting out a lot of shows. I can understand that you're probably sick of me by now. I don't blame you.
They want drama.
They want drama. That's what it is. Pick up the drama and they will arrive. They'll even know I'm doing it when they're not even on my show. Just, transmit it to their brain telepathically somehow. Yeah, check that out, Jiffy Kichi. I'd love to do that. Just from your saliva, huh? Tell that much just from your saliva. That's kind of amazing in itself. Blood, I'd say, but they could come up with any bullshit too. Could be a bullshit operation. They're just going to tell you what you want to hear for the money. You got to watch out who you're dealing with. I think some people got things back like that and said that they were African American. They were white as a ghost and had no African Americans in their family line as far as they could ever remember. Let's see. All the DNA services I'm getting on initial search are all focused on paternity testing. Really? And I guess you got to punch in the right words to get what you're getting from it. It'll get you away from the paternity shit. Yeah, I'll do some research on my own sometime. Oh, you found one. What you got? for everybody to learn if they want to do something like that. If you're really interesting about your family history or your genetics, I mean, how far? Oh, it's called DNA Test PH. Hear that, folks? DNA Test PH. Gee, I wonder what that costs. Is anything about cost? That's cheap. And more likely they send it off to America somewhere. I wouldn't doubt it. Okay, I'll have to check that out. DNA Test PH. DNA Test PH. Okay, let's punch it in. DNA Test PH. Well, there's DNA immigration test. Experts in DNA since 1999. Yeah, they're referring to paternity on this one. Oh, God, sorry about that. You'd probably be paying for something like that. Paternity test, or let's see. Maternity, 11,600 to 26,200. Grandparent DNA, 17,000 to 29,000. Sibling DNA test, 17 to 29. Family reconstruction DNA test, 17 to 29. I don't know what they mean. How long does it take the test in the Philippines? Once the lab receives your samples, maternity tests will be processed, and your reliable, confidential test results will be emailed to you within 2 to 3 weeks upon receipt sample to the laboratory. What hospital test DNA? I go to St. Luke's in Manila Extension Clinic, undertake a DNA testing where all individuals required to undertake DNA are in the Philippines. Well, I have to remember your DNA testing. All right. Oh, sorry, man. Laid back city this morning, you know. Okay, we'll have to do some further testing today. I wouldn't mind having something like that done. I mean, I might be a bro. I might be an afro, man. Which means I'm going to have to change my hairstyle. You know? I'll definitely need a white woman. I can't have a dark skin. I can't have a Filipino. If I'm gonna be a fro, I'm gonna have a white woman on my arm. Got to fit the modern, contemporary version of the African American. See, they've gone through a lot of changes. The one with the blue tabs on his side. Okay. Yeah, the yellow man being my distant cousin. Well, I don't know what color his eyes is. Probably brown. But everybody who has blue eyes are basically related to each other. More so if you have green eyes. Hey, Brad Pitt's my relative. Yeah. Now, if you got two different colored eyes like Obama, you're just fucking an alien, you know, or you're just inbred. You don't see too many people with two different colored eyes. It's a product of inbreeding. Yeah, two different eye colors. Can you imagine that? Damn. There was some crazy shit going on in his family. That's for damn sure. That's pretty incredible. Jifikichi. Where you get this name, man. It's something to look into. If you want to spend about 20 grand, 20,000 pesos to find out. I have a reasonable idea, but I want to go beyond that. All the way up to the caveman. Of course, they're not going to have records for that. I tend to wonder if, there was such a thing as royalty back in those days. I don't know. Maybe I've been hatched or something, or test tube for all I know. Different eye colors is an indication of different species having mated, right? But like I said, there's a lot of famous people out there. And what I read is that we're all actually related to each other on this planet. Brad Pitt, I'm just thinking somebody blue eye. Brad Pitt to be one of them, and a lot of other famous people who have blue eyes. You are somewhat related to them if you two are Caucasian and you have blue eyes. Brown eyes are more common. The green eyes are more or less common than blue. So they're actually the rarest is green eyes. Makes sense to me. Okay, guys, you can hear me yawning. When I start boring myself, I get off this damn thing. Got something to do, a little money collecting today, so we're going to get off. Thank you for your dialogue on here. As always, kind of an interesting topic to kind of talk about our ancestry. See, where the hell do we come from? Try to paint the family tree, something. And you get to know who you are once you really know your ancestry and what they were like, if they had health conditions, if you could find out how long they lived, or what they did for a living. Kind of nice to know this. Who was it that went all the way back? I was was it Seinfeld's show? George. Was it George? Yeah, George. I think he went all the way to Italy. He was knocking at somebody's door and tells them that they're related, and the guy chased him away. Get the fuck out of here. There's there's some people in your family line that don't want to know anybody in your family line from America or whatever. So I get the hell out of here, you know. I don't care to know you, you know. You're nothing to me unless you're putting food on my table. Then, that's a whole different story. Put food on the table, you suddenly become significant in somebody's mind. That's pretty much all over. You ain't gonna get away from that. I thought, something different, because it had to be somewhere, either Austria, Germany, or Switzerland, Offspring. Okay. Let's see, one last word here. Apparently, after last ice age, there was only several thousand humans that were alive. No, wait a minute now, because I got to get back into my anthropology here. You're confusing me now. Well, first of all, humans, as we know them, were not around during the age of dinosaurs. Jurassic, Triassic, and so forth. There were some, and there might have been some woolly mammoths around too during our old ancestor, which are huge elephants, hairy elephants with big tusks, and they're really huge. They might have been around. But generally, I think human life came after a big hit. I think human life came in after that. I don't think there was any. Remember, the cavemen, if you want to call them that, were not around dinosaurs. They couldn't survive being around dinosaurs. They'd be wiped out. That might be something interesting to talk about. Was man around during the time of the dinosaurs? I think you're going to get a lot of different opinions about that. Cockroaches survived, things like that. And I just want to relax. One of those days. Kickback days. They're all kicked back. Let's see, what last ice age ended as recently as 25,000 years ago. Some say more, probably. Well, I got an open mind about it, that's for sure. Okay, with that being said, I'm here because you're there. Thank you. We'll catch you on the next show, guys.